first.
This morning.
I'm pregnant.
Michael Douglas is a professor with a knack of digging himself deeper and deeper into trouble in Wonder Boys, the new film by the director of L.A. Confidential. And that's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week, including the new Bruce Willis comedy. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Michaela Pereira of ZDTV's Internet Tonight.
Our first movie, Wonder Boys, is one of those films that spends 2 hours on a tightrope and is always about to fall off, and it never quite does. It's very smart and very observant and very funny in a mordant and low-key kind of way. Michael Douglas stars in one of his best and most surprising performances, completely changing his image here as a Pittsburgh English professor who wrote a good novel a long time ago and is now deeply involved in a bad marriage, an affair, drugs, stolen cars, dead dogs, Marilyn Monroe's missing wedding outfit, and the problems of a gifted but troubled student who's wonderfully played by Tobey Maguire.
In the past 36 hours, have you told me one thing that's true? One thing that comes from you?
I just wanted to stay with you for a little while. That's all.
The professor's love interest is not only the university's chancellor, but also the wife of his boss at the English department. She's played quizzically and subtly by Frances McDormand.
No, I believe you want to be with me, but it's just not good enough.
I know that. I mean, I know what's at stake here.
No, I don't think you do. Besides, it doesn't matter. I haven't decided yet.
About the baby.
That. And you.
The dead dog, which was blind, belongs to McDormand and her husband. Maguire shot it at a party, and now he and Douglas have it in the car trunk.
Trust me, James, when the family pet's been assassinated, the owner does not want to hear that one of her students was a trigger man.
Does she want to hear it was one of her professors?
I've got tenure.
And there are perfect little scenes like this one, where Douglas opens the safe in his boss's bedroom to show his student Maguire a valuable item of celebrity memorabilia, the jacket Marilyn Monroe wore on her wedding day.
She was small. Most people don't know that. The shoulders are so small.
What I love about the movie is that it takes a comic situation and treats it with great tenderness and sympathy, so that it's not the trivial slapstick romp that it might have been with this material, but a curiously moving and involving film filled from one end to the other with good actors who are, and this is important, perfectly cast for these roles. After making L.A. Confidential, a lot of people wonder what Curtis Hanson was going to do to follow it up, and now we know. It's still early, but I think Wonder Boys is going to be on my list of the best films this year. I liked it that much.
That's a bold statement. Yeah. That's a bold statement. And you know what? Again, we agree. The fact is, this is a really well-written script and well-acted. Not a big fan of Michael Douglas, never have been. He really was effective in this comedic role. It was a pleasure to see him doing that. Tobey Maguire was great opposite him. Frances McDormand, again, very subtle. Yet you knew exactly where what her role was in this movie. The thing that I also like, too, is that it afforded us a view of this literary and scholarly world. You sometimes wondered, okay, is this really plausible? Is this stuff happening? But this man is such a bumbling fool that all of this stuff just kind of rolls
I think all of this stuff could happen.
Easily.
You know, Michael Douglas has had a lot of interesting roles over the years, but in the last 10 years or so, it seems like in every movie he makes, he's this kind of SOB sitting behind a desk, and then a beautiful, slinky woman comes in and stabs him, and he's arrested for...
It was nice to see him fall in love with somebody that wasn't slinky.
Yes, and here he's got a character. It's a wonderful performance. It's really, I think it's the best thing he's ever done, and the whole movie, Curtis Hanson, is real good at storytelling. This isn't just driven by the plot, it's driven by the way these people behave.
Another one to watch for, obviously, is Robert Downey Jr. Very believable in his role,
Yeah.
And on to our next movie now, Boiler Room. And a more apropos movie for America at this time, I can't possibly imagine. A long way from the high-powered brokerages of the New York Stock Exchange, Boiler Room is a cleverly written and well-acted drama. Giovanni Ribisi is Seth Davis, a 19-year-old dropout, but basically good guy, who leaves behind his successful apartment-based casino for an equally illegal gig at J.T. Marlin, a disreputable chop shop selling stock for companies that don't exist. Their training program, like their company, is less than traditional. Here, a slick, smooth-talking Ben Affleck works over new recruits.
I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you could possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. Now go home and think about it. Think about whether or not this is really for you. If you decide it isn't, listen, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's not for everyone.
From the beginning, Seth, blessed with equal parts common sense and street savvy, sees that they make up their own rules at this joint. Team leader Greg, played by Nicky Katt, gives Seth some pointers.
The most important thing you gotta know right now is that you can be whoever you want to be on the phone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who cares? Do what you gotta do. Change your last name.
Yeah, but wait, how can I do like that? I mean, isn't there a compliance officer here?
Oh, no, man. Everybody does that. Are you kidding?
But other than scoring a big rip or commission from unknowing victims, Seth is more concerned with gaining the respect of his hard-nosed father.
Well, I don't know why we can't just discuss this. I mean, you know, maybe you're just not seeing my side.
Your side? What side, Seth? You're doing wrong.
Aspects of this movie reminded me of Fight Club. Young, frustrated white men once again wanting to beat the system and get a piece of the pie. It's hip, fast-moving, tightly written, and well-acted. I loved Vin Diesel in this ensemble piece, but the movie is really all about Ribisi and his fight for respect. He's good, and so is Boiler Room. Thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up for me, too. And, you know, Ron Rifkin is so good as the father, the judge.
You
At one
hate
point,
him.
yeah, but you gotta sympathize with him because he's a judge and his son is, first of all, running a blackjack table in his apartment, and now he's working for a chop shop. It's a good, well-written role, and the whole movie is well written. The guy who directed this did a lot of research on these chop shops, and you can feel it. I felt my stomach, you know, getting kind of nervous during this film because I knew that terrible things were going to happen.
Terrible
and because
things.
there's so much aggression and testosterone and energy in that telephone room.
And it was, the reason I said it was like Fight Club, and I'm sure you saw the same thing, is that there's this mass group of men wanting to believe in something and wanting a piece of that pie. They're willing to do anything.
There's also an interesting relationship between Ribisi and Neil Long, who plays the receptionist. And this is, I think this is practically the first movie I've seen, maybe in a year or two, where a sexual relationship is preceded by a conversation where they get to know each other. Usually in the movies, you cut directly to the chase. But here, they share their backgrounds, their fears, their family histories, and then she reaches out and touches his hand. And that was, the whole movie is observant like that.
And all of the backstories made sense. Her relationship with her mother, his relationship with his father, where he wanted to go, where he came from. It worked all really well.
Coming up later, Diane Keaton, Meg Ryan, and Lisa Kudrow are three sisters in Hanging Up. And coming up next, Bruce Willis and Matthew Perry, our next-door neighbors in the whole 9 yards.
He's a little upset. I've managed to upset a mass murderer.
Yeah, I've been having this problem with my girlfriend. It's
diarrhea. Get it, and you want it gone.
Really good listener.
Imodium Advanced combines 2 medicines that relieve diarrhea plus cramps and bloating faster.
Was I right to invite my mom to my honeymoon?
Absolutely.
Imodium Advanced.
New experiences just have to be shared. And there's no better way than dialing 10-10-321.
I took to it like a duck to water.
With 10-10-321, it's just 8 cents a minute on calls over 10 minutes, day or night, with no monthly fee.
It was so much fun, I couldn't stop.
And at 8 cents a minute, you can keep on talking.
In no time, I was whipping around that record. Hey.
Talk as long as you want with 10-10-321.
Can any of you ladies help me? My zipper's stuck. Hello? Hello?
Irritated throat? Try Luden's Herbal, now in echinacea.
96.5, The Peak, Howard Stern, Denver's new rock. New rock.
Intergalactic planetary!
96.5, The Peak, Howard Stern, and Denver's new rock.
Darkness imprisoning me!
96.5, The Peak, new rock. Without the old crap, The Peak. The future of Denver radio is 96.5, The Peak.
Today on IHOP Reveal, what the 4 IHOP syrups really think.
Blueberry's pretty much the best syrup. Good on everything.
I've been on your table for, what, since you've been born?
I noticed a lot of girls go for the butter pecan.
Whichever syrup you believe, try it on IHOP's pancake partners. Eggs, bacon, or sausage, and your choice of banana nut, chocolate chip, or other specialty pancakes from $2.99. Next time, Strawberry reveals why any time's a good time for IHOP.
How much do you need, dear?
5 should probably do it.
1,000? For what?
Matthew Perry plays a dentist from Chicago, now very unhappily married in Montreal to Rosanna Arquette in The Whole 9 Yards. a good-natured comedy that I enjoyed a lot more than I expected to. His life takes a dramatic turn when he realizes that his new next-door neighbor, played by Bruce Willis, is Jimmy the Tulip, a notorious Chicago hitman who has just been released from prison. Arquette stirs up trouble by urging her husband to betray their new neighbor to the Chicago mobster who hates him, and then they can collect the finder's fee.
You do this for me, and I give you your divorce. And if you don't do this for me, I swear, I'll make your life so damn miserable. It'll make these past few years seem like a pleasure cruise.
At work, the dentist is comforted by his new receptionist, played by Amanda Peet, in a comic performance so perfectly modulated, almost everything she does is kind of funny.
Jimmy the Tulip? Jimmy the Tulip lives next to you, and you know him? Oz, can you introduce me to him?
He goes to Chicago, where Kevin Pollak is the mob boss, and Oscar nominee Michael Clark Duncan is his henchman named Frankie Figs.
The thing you gotta remember is when we're talking about Jimmy Tedeschi, we're not talking about a human being. If we're talking about a rodent, if we're talking about Werman.
Perry is confused all through the movie as to which side is which. I like the minimalist approach of Bruce Willis, who doesn't go after last, but waits until they come to him. Matthew Perry doesn't overdo the bumbling straight man. Amanda Peet, who hero worships Jimmy the Tulip and dreams of someday growing up to be a professional killer herself, is wonderful. She steals every scene she's in.
Sitting in the theater, tears running down my face. Matthew Perry was brilliant. It was like Chandler from Friends was dropped into an episode terribly gone wrong of The Sopranos. It was perfect. His physical comedy, dead on. Dead on.
He's fabulous. And then Amanda Peet.
She's great.
Who wants to be a hitman. You're Jimmy the Tulip.
The adoration
I'd like to work under you, you know. And it's the only thing she's ever wanted to do. Yeah. And you know, for that role, she has this personality that just jumps into it and makes it so winning and so infectious.
My one concern, although I was really glad to finally see Canada represented as Canada in a movie, please work on that French-Canadian accent.
So maybe somewhere in Canada they could have found an actress who could.
Of course they could have. Of course they could have. It was terrible.
Somewhere up there.
It was the one complaint I had about a very funny movie.
Okay, coming up next, Meg Ryan juggles family relationships and hanging up.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, imagine what we bring you every day. Capturing Colorado, one picture at a time. 7 News, the reason to watch.
Have you heard the mix lately?
Mix 100.3. The best mix of the 80s, 90s, and today.
Turn on the mix.
The mix. Listen to the mix difference now. Denver's new Mix 100.3.
What do I have in my house from America? A leather couch.
A dining set from them?
A home entertainment center and a curio cabinet.
Oh, we bought a bed. We furnished the whole house here.
We have the coffee tables that are right back here.
A lamp.
We got a couch, my bedroom. She just got her bed set today.
Dresser.
Cocktail tables.
Chairs and sofas.
Actually, we buy something every time we come here, so.
Yeah, it's a bad habit, I guess.
So there was no whiplash, and you still have your teeth and your lower back? And...
No, I'm fine. And he just had headlight damage and grill.
Mom, how many track-ups is that this year?
That is, of course, the one we can't help but love, Meg Ryan as Eve, who in Hanging Up is party planner, wife, mother, sister, and dutiful daughter. She's struggling fairly nobly to do what many women do day in and day out, keep it all together. Responsible middle child Eve finds herself caring for her aging father. Walter Matthau is delightful as this semi-senile yet charming old codger who gets more than a couple of laughs.
Something else if you want. Guy Pan. All right. You know that I actually knew a girl by the name of Mugu Guy Pan. That was her last name.
Mugu Guy Pan?
Yeah. Her first name was Frida. Frida Mugu Guy Pan.
The film's director, Diane Keaton, also doubles as Eve's older sister, Georgia, while Lisa Kudrow plays her younger sister, Maddie.
I have been the one here dealing with Dad, not you, and not you. Okay, well, you order me around to get him to sign a blank check, talk to a real doctor. I mean, and I understand how important it is to make the world safe for liposuction. But I just want to say I am sick of it.
Between giggling fits, crying jags, cell phone calls, and literal and figurative hang-ups, Hanging Up is an almost believable story about a family's struggle to reconcile. Yes, not many of us are as dear Meg, and no, seeing our parents pass is rarely as Hollywood depicts it. But this screenplay by Delia and Nora Ephron, although not groundbreaking cinema, has a core of truth. Although it's slightly bland and a little too heavy on hysteria, I give Hanging Up a marginal thumbs up.
I give it thumbs down. I think it's real bland and real heavy on his story.
Really?
And I also feel that these three women who are smart and who have played a lot of smart people in the movies are playing kind of ditzy sitcom characters here. And Walter Matthau, who's one of my favorite actors, is really given nothing to do except to play this caricature of the lovable old dying codger, you know, who's even, his last word is almost scripted right out of a sitcom.
That was a very painful scene. The dying scene was just, it felt very trite. I disagree with you. I thought he was actually one of the things that held this movie together. He was charming and senile. I mean, he was sort of on his way out the door, but still able to get some laughs on the way out.
Now, I know this is to some degree an autobiographical story of Nora and Delia Ephron and their other two sisters and their father, who was a famous screenwriter. But it seems to me like these are the anecdotes that were always brought out for public consumption at dinner parties. This is not the real story. This is all kind of like public display of colorful people, saturated from what must have really been going on.
And I disagree. I really disagree, because I think the story was one of the stronger parts of the movie because it started somewhere and moved along, reconciliation of the past, moving towards the future, dealing with loved ones.
Yeah, but just skimming along the surface.
Disagree.
Okay, our next movie is Pitch Black, a space opera that might have been a lot better with just a little more imagination. It begins with an interstellar cruiser in deep space, which means literally anything can happen, and so it's disappointing when it crash lands on a desert planet and the movie turns into one of those films where people just stalk one another. As the movie opens, the ship is penetrated by meteorites that kill the captain, leaving second-in-command Rhoda Mitchell in charge. After the crash landing, she confronts the deadly prisoner on board, played by Vin Diesel from Boiler Room. He's had eye surgery that allows him to see in the dark.
All you people are so scared of me. Most days I take that as a compliment. But it ain't me you gotta worry about now.
You wouldn't think it'd do you much good to see in the dark on this planet because it's part of a system including 3 suns, so almost all of the time it's daylight. In fact, it only turns dark during an eclipse every 22 years. For example, right about now. Apparently, the alien creatures on this world like the dark.
I was supposed to die in France. Never ever saw France.
Vin Diesel and Rhoda Mitchell are both rising stars, and they're both good here, better, in fact, than the material deserves. Pitch Black was directed and co-written by David Twohy, who in 1996 made The Arrival, a smart and intriguing science fiction movie starring Charlie Sheen. I like the look of the picture. I like the washed-out colors of desert and dusk. But surely with a whole universe to choose from, there's got to be something more interesting for the human race to get itself involved in than a showdown with a dangerous prisoner. There's essentially nothing in this movie that needs outer space. Take away the spaceship, substitute a shipwreck on a desert island, throw in some hostile island creatures, and what would the difference be?
I'll confess something to you. I am a person scared by her own shadow. This movie did nothing to frighten me. It's called Pitch Black. The premise of it is that there's some aliens. We're scared of aliens. It's in the dark, and we're being chased. But it left me feeling like, okay, scare me, come on. The 2 things I liked about this movie, Vin Diesel, I already told you already.
He's a star. He's going to be big, yeah.
Although he did borderline Terminator for me. A couple of the lines were kind of cheesy. And I think that was one of the big problems I had with the movie, was that the dialogue. Some of the actors came across feeling very robotic. But like you said, it is really pretty. With the 3 suns on this planet, the sepia tones are really beautiful. But, I left waiting. You know, exactly. It could have been so great, but
he's
it
a
just
talented
flopped.
director who knows how to make it look good, and he should have spent more time on the screenplay. But Vin Diesel, now, he's got a name that's perfect for an action star. I can see the poster now. Diesel.
And the voice. The voice will take him a long way.
Now, I've seen him in 2 very different kinds of movies on this show.
Pulls it off.
And he's going to amount to something.
Yes, he is.
You bet. Coming up next, Stanley Kubrick's last film is soon going to come out on video.
Now you can make pores look smaller just by washing your face with new Neutrogena Pore Refining Cleanser. Alpha and beta hydroxy acid and microbeads make pores less visible. Skin is instantly smoother and more even. Neutrogena Pore Refining Cleanser. This was worth waiting for.
The exciting thing about this ride isn't the 90-foot drop. It's the woman in the front seat. She's got asthma, but she's got help. Help control your asthma with Singulair. It's a single tablet daily that's not a steroid. It's also available for children 6 and older. Ask your doctor about adding once-a-day Singulair and help control your asthma. Singulair should not be used to treat acute asthma attacks. Continue taking your other asthma medicines unless your doctor tells you to stop or change the dose. If symptoms get worse, contact your doctor at once. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, flu, and stomach pain. Read the consumer information your doctor or pharmacist can provide. Help control your asthma with Singulair.
When Stanley Kubrick's last movie, Eyes Wide Shut, was released last July, there was instant controversy. The MPAA ratings board threatened it with an NC-17 rating, and Warner Brothers got that reduced to an R rating by doing a terrible thing. They created artificial digital human figures and placed them to obscure some of the not very graphic action during an orgy that the Tom Cruise character wanders through. This was said to reflect the wishes of Kubrick himself, who had died in March. Well, even if it did, that didn't make it right. It just made him wrong. Maybe it just meant Kubrick felt cornered by the MPAA, just like the studio was. Now Warner Brothers has announced that when the tapes and DVD discs of Eyes Wide Shut are released on March the 7th, the North American version will still be desecrated by that ugly animated censorship. A studio spokesman tells me this was Kubrick's wish. Well, oddly enough, however, in the rest of the world, he must have had a different wish, because the uncut version will be released in Europe and elsewhere.
Are you the gentleman with the taxi waiting for him?
Yes.
What this adds up to is a sad day for Kubrick lovers and Warner Brothers. At some point, the studio should have had the courage to bite the bullet and say, look, this is the movie Stanley Kubrick originally delivered to us, and now, on the director's cut of the video, you can see it just the way he made it to begin with. I know some video stores won't carry NC-17 videos, but that's their problem. It shouldn't be ours.
Chevy Blazer. A little security in an insecure world. Blazer, like a rock.
Islands of Adventure, the most amazing theme park ever created. Now thrilling families at Universal Orlando. Step inside the whimsical world of Dr. Seuss. Explore the real-life Jurassic Park. Ride with Spider-Man in the world's most spectacular 3D adventure. Come visit the all-new Islands of Adventure, one of 2 must-see theme parks at Universal Orlando. 2 parks, 2 days, 1 great vacation.
Prepare yourself for one legend live on stage. Prepare yourself for Buddy, the Buddy Holly story. Go backstage, on stage, and live on tour with the Big Bopper, Richie Valens, and the immortal, hip-twisting, earth-shaking Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly. Get a ticket, get a seat, dance dance in the aisles and rave on to Buddy, the Buddy Holly story.
At the Buell Theater beginning March 14th. Tickets now available by calling 303-893-4100.
Our lives are filled with milestones we share with family and friends. When it comes time to celebrate a life, selecting a mortuary can be confusing. What can make the difference between one mortuary and another? While many Denver area mortuaries are controlled by outside interests, at Harana-McConaty, we continue to be family-owned and operated. Our focus is on serving you, not faraway stockholders or investors.
So what makes the difference?
At Harana-McConaty, we do.
Harana and McConaty Mortuaries, family owned and operated since 1890.
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up for Wonder Boys. The movie opens next week. 2 thumbs up for Boiler Room, starring Giovanni Ribisi and Ben Affleck, in an incisive look at the new era of American greed. 2 more thumbs up for The Whole 9 Yards, a surprisingly engaging comedy from Matt Perry, Bruce Willis, and Amanda Peet. We split on Hanging Up. Michaela enjoyed the story, but I thought it skimmed the surface. Finally, 2 thumbs down for Pitch Black, although we agree that Vin Diesel is a star on the rise.
So Boiler Room, got to see it, and also Wonder Boys, a surprisingly good movie.
Absolutely. Remember, you can hear our reviews on the web, Michaela and myself, at Ebert-movies.com, part of Go Network. And my movie Yearbook 2000 is now on sale in stores, online. Next week, the great director Martin Scorsese joins me in the balcony, and we're going to discuss our list of the 10 best movies of the 1990s, his and mine. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.